Hey guys, tonight we step back into the roar and dust of ancient Rome, not as emperors or gladiators, but as ordinary spectators heading to the Colosseum. You're not here to fight, you're here to watch. But don't get too comfortable, this isn't just a casual outing. It's loud, brutal, packed, and possibly the most intense sensory overload you've ever had. Think of it as a mix between a rock concert, a royal parade, and a public execution, only it's all rolled into one. And no, you probably won't survive this if you're squeamish. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I'd love to know where you're watching from and what time it is. Drop it in the comments. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The first thing you notice is the heat. Not unbearable, but dense and already buzzing with the scent of baked clay, sweat, and something slightly sour. You blink, stretch, and sit upright on your straw mattress, bones a little stiff from the night before. You're living in a third-story flat, if you can call it that, in a crowded Roman insula, which is basically a stacked tenement block. The walls are paper-thin. You can already hear someone arguing in Greek downstairs, a baby screaming down the hallway, and somewhere outside, the clank of hooves on cobblestones. It's game day, and the whole city is twitching with anticipation. The Colosseum, you've been waiting weeks for this. You rub your eyes and splash some lukewarm water onto your face from a chipped ceramic jug. There's no bathroom, obviously, and the communal latrine at the end of the corridor smells like someone angered every god in the pantheon. You hold your breath as you pass it and grab your tunic, cheaply woven linen, already a bit discolored from last week's bread market riot, and throw it over your head. Your tessera, the small clay ticket, sits carefully tucked beneath a chipped oil lamp on the table. You pick it up reverently. It tells you where you're allowed to sit, assuming some toga-wearing brute hasn't already taken your spot. You finger the ridges of the number etched in it. The games are free, thanks to the emperor's generosity and his need for popularity, but access still depends on your social rank. You're mid-tier at best. Not in the nosebleeds, but nowhere near the marble and shade of the elite seats either. Outside, the alley already hums with early risers. A street vendor calls out something about honeyed dates. Someone else is selling garlands of laurel and rosemary. You're not sure if those are for spectators or sacrifices, but you toss him a sesterce anyway. Good luck can't hurt. Down the street, a friend spots you, Flaccus, the local fishmonger's son. His tunic, stained with something suspiciously red, and he smells like yesterday's eel, but his grin is as wide as the Tiber. You ready? He asks, bouncing on his heels. They say they're releasing 20 lions today. 20. You nod, partly out of excitement, partly to avoid the conversation. Last time he got your hopes up about a giraffe, and it turned out to be just a very confused camel. You join the slow river of Romans heading east. The streets narrow and widen in unpredictable waves. You dodge a donkey cart overflowing with amphorae, sidestep two bickering matrons, and nearly trip over a toddler chasing a chicken. Rome doesn't do quiet mornings. The smell hits you around halfway there. A rich, earthy mix of trampled soil, roasted meat, sweat, incense, and something metallic. Blood or anticipation, hard to tell. You cross through the forum, where senators in pristine togas glide past like marble statues come to life. You do your best not to stare. They barely notice you. A few slaves scurry behind, balancing scrolls and parasols. One shoots you a look, somewhere between boredom and envy. Historians still argue whether Roman mornings were truly this chaotic, or whether writers like Juvenal just enjoyed exaggerating. You murmur to yourself, echoing your old schoolmaster. But it sure feels real. Then just past the baths and the Temple of Venus, it appears, the Colosseum. Massive, ridiculous, glorious. You've seen it before, but today it hits differently. Maybe it's the sun catching on the topmost arches, or the deep rumble of thousands already inside. Or maybe it's just that you know you're finally part of it, Not reading about it or hearing second-hand stories, but actually there. You swallow, heart thumping. The amphitheater towers above you, nearly 160 feet high. The white travertine stone seems to glow, almost blinding in the light. It's not just a building, it's a statement. Rome is the master of the world, and this is the heart of its entertainment machine. Banners flutter from the upper tiers. You can make out some painted shields and house crests. Vendors shout about cold drinks, spiced nuts, fried dormice. You eye one of them, half the oil, probably reused, but your stomach growls anyway. A procession passes by, armored guards, a few musicians, and a stoic-looking magistrate being shaded by two nervous-looking slaves. You step aside quickly. Those guys can make you disappear into a prison cell with a single frown. The closer you get, the louder it gets. It's not just noise. It's sound layered in centuries of adrenaline. Roars, laughter, the high-pitched bleat of a frightened goat, clashing cymbals somewhere behind you. The city is pouring itself into this one arena, and you're caught in the stream. Your tessera is already sweaty in your palm. You run your thumb across the etched seat number one more time as the shadow of the Colosseum falls over you. You're almost inside. You reach the outer ring, and now the sheer scale of it all smacks you in the face. The Colosseum isn't just big, it's alive. The outer walls rise up in 4 stacked tiers, each one lined with arched entrances and teeming with people. Above, enormous masts jut from the rim like the ribs of a colossal stone ship, supporting ropes that hold up the velarium, the massive canvas awning system designed to shade the seats. Right now, the sails haven't been fully drawn, but you can already feel the difference where shadow touches skin. Rich folks in the upper tiers will get the full breeze and shade treatment. Let's just say your sunburn starts now. Finding your gate feels like solving a puzzle with your life as the reward. Numbers are chiseled into the archways, Roman numerals, of course, and attendants in short tunics yell out instructions you can't always understand over the din. You finally locate Gate LII, and your tessera gets you past the threshold with a quick nod from a bored-looking usher. You're not alone. Around you are hundreds of others pushing, sweating, bumping shoulders, and apologizing in at least 3 languages. Some speak Latin, some Greek. A few yell in harsh northern dialects you don't recognize. One man is painted entirely blue. He may be lost, or he may just be very into the show. You're swept forward like a coin, dropped into a storm drain. As you move through the dim, echoing corridor, the vomitorium they call it, because it vomits people into the seating tiers, you get a strange sense of awe. This isn't a hallway, it's a throat, and you're sliding down it straight into the belly of the beast. The marble underfoot is smooth, worn down by decades of sandals and boots. The walls are lined with torch brackets and graffiti. Some inscriptions are scrawled in charcoal, some etched in with knives, crude stick figures, symbols of gods, a surprisingly elegant portrait of a gladiator labeled MARCELLVSTHE merciless. Someone has drawn something impolite on a senator's name. You smirk. Guess some things never change. You reach a junction where attendants point you left, up a long, curving staircase. Time to climb. The steps are steep and uneven. You grip the handrail carved into the wall, careful not to trip. Beside you, a woman in an embroidered stola grumbles about being insultingly far from the action. She looks like she hasn't walked uphill since Nero was alive. You sympathize, but also kind of don't. As you emerge into daylight again, the sound hits like a thunderclap. The crowd, my gods. You've heard cheers before, parades, festivals, even riots. But this is something else entirely. It's not just sound, it's pressure. The kind that hits your chest and reverberates through your spine, people screaming, laughing, chanting. Someone bangs a drum nearby. A group of teenagers starts the slow, rising OHHHHHH that usually ends in something hilarious or painful. You're not sure which yet. You stop and catch your breath. The arena is spread out in front of you like a vision. It's a perfect oval, the sandy floor shimmering golden in the sun. At the center, a few attendants are sweeping away something: blood, dust, a crushed fig, who knows, everything is moving. Servants rush to finish setting up props. Musicians tune their instruments behind a low stone wall. A handler leads a reluctant-looking lion on a leash toward a holding pen. The beast snarls, and even from this distance you flinch. This is not a petting zoo. Your seat is halfway up the middle tier, the medianum secundum. Decent view. You wedge yourself between a retired centurion and a young couple sharing a garum-soaked snack. The stone bench is hard, warm, and slightly slick. You're sitting on centuries of stories. To your left, a group of kids waves wooden swords and shouts, "Ave, Caesar! Ave!" with more enthusiasm than accuracy. To your right, an old man is already asleep with his mouth open. He may have seen this all 100 times before, or just drank a bit too much watered wine before noon. A trumpet sounds somewhere below. You glance across the arena at the imperial box, easily the most elaborate section in the amphitheater. Carved marble, gilded trim, shaded canopy, and armed guards flanking the central seat. It's still empty, but not for long. When the emperor arrives, everything changes. You look around, soaking it in. The sheer diversity of Rome is on display here. There are senators in white togas bordered in purple, merchants in colorful tunics, foreign ambassadors in odd hats, freedmen, slaves, soldiers, children. You think you even spot a priest of Jupiter staring suspiciously at the sky. Maybe he knows something you don't. This place is more than just a theater. It's a mirror of Roman society. The higher you sit, the lower your status. The bottom seats, the closest to the action, are reserved for the elite. Their marble benches have cushions. Yours has ambience. Historians still argue whether the Colosseum seating plan was meant more for order or humiliation. But one thing's clear: you're constantly reminded of your place in Rome. A vendor walks by shouting, "Aqua, vino, nuts, spiced figs." You hand him a coin and get a cup of something coolish and questionably purple. It's sour but drinkable. He nods and moves on, muttering about a man getting mauled for a denarius an hour. You're beginning to sweat. The sun is creeping higher, and the velarium hasn't been fully drawn yet. Somewhere above, you spot sailors perched on the rigging, trying to pull the massive canvas over the crowd. The system's operated by the Roman Navy, of all people. They're used to sails and ropes, after all. You wonder if this is more or less dangerous than actual sea duty. The scent of animals wafts up again. It mixes with roasting meat, floral perfume, and something that might be dung, hard to tell. You make a note not to inhale too deeply. The woman next to you fans herself with a palm frond. "I hear the last man who fell into the arena during the show got trampled and fined," she mutters, not quite looking at you. "Best keep your balance." You nod politely, definitely planning on that. Another trumpet blast, louder this time. The crowd shifts, a wave of movement and murmurs. You crane your neck toward the imperial box, still empty. The anticipation crackles now. It's like a coiled spring, and you're sitting right on the edge of it. One kid leans into his friend and whispers, "I heard they've got a rhinoceros today." The other scoffs, "Last time it was just a hairy bull." You chuckle, the rumors are half the fun. Somewhere behind you, a brawl breaks out over a stolen seat. Two men yelling, jabbing fingers. A third threatens to call the guards. A fourth tries to sell them olives. Classic Rome. You shift on your bench, take another sip, and stretch your back. The stone is already pressing into your spine like a poorly made pillow. You try not to think about how many hours of this lie ahead. But also, you wouldn't trade it for anything. Because in a few moments, the emperor will enter. The drums will thunder, and blood will meet sand. There's no formal announcement, no trumpeter blasting a regal tune, no herald stepping out to declare his entrance. And yet, you know. The air shifts. The buzz of the crowd, already a steady storm of noise, begins to rise in pitch and tempo. All around you, people stand. Some squint toward the imperial box. Others bow their heads slightly. A few raise fists in salute. Even the man who was loudly snoring too rows down, blinks awake as though jolted by some internal alarm. The emperor has arrived. You stand too, because of course you do. Everyone does. Even the birds circling above seem to pause. From across the arena, you spot the gleam of his laurel crown before anything else. It glitters in the late morning sun, catching the light like fire. He strides into view, flanked by guards, robed attendants, and a few unfortunate flatterers whose only job today is to nod, smile, and pretend everything is going exactly as planned. He's not alone. The Empress is beside him, regal and distant. She wears enough pearls to fund a small war. Behind her, a teenage prince adjusts his sash with the awkwardness of someone who'd rather be anywhere else. You briefly lock eyes with him. Well, it feels like it anyway, and you're suddenly aware of your own sweaty tunic and probably too red face. The crowd surges with a roar of Ave Caesar, followed by a ripple of cheers, applause, and the occasional shouted request for tax forgiveness. You don't shout anything. You just watch. That's enough. The emperor raises one hand, just one, and silence falls. Not immediately, not all at once, but in waves, row by row, like the tide rolling back. The sheer power of that gesture makes your skin crawl in the best possible way. He lowers himself into the gilded chair at the center of the box, Sella Curialize they call it, the curule seat, symbol of imperium, power, control. Basically, if chairs could make laws, this one would. As he sits, the signal is clear. Let the games begin. A line of musicians, long horns, curved tubas, and bronze cymbals, marches along the lower perimeter. They let out a booming, not entirely in tune fanfare. The sound rolls across the arena like thunder hitting a mountain. Now the gates open. Not those gates. The beast pens and the gladiator tunnels come later. These are ceremonial, tall, polished wooden doors at the end of the arena's long axis. From them, a stream of performers, priests, and actors emerges. This is the Pampa, the opening procession, a kind of theatrical overture before the carnage begins. Leading the parade are dancers dressed as fauns and satyrs. Their masks are exaggerated and cartoonish, curved horns, wagging tongues, wide goat eyes. They prance, leap, and clap in rhythm, shaking rattles and bells. Behind them march priests in spotless robes, carrying icons of Jupiter, Mars, and Nemesis, the goddess of divine retribution, who is likely to have a very busy day. They scatter incense as they walk. You catch a whiff of something sweet and floral, a temporary cover for the less pleasant odors surrounding you. Next come the costumed actors reenacting legendary battles. You chuckle as a mock Hector gets stabbed by a giggling Achilles wearing far too much eyeliner. The crowd cheers anyway. One man throws a small loaf of bread onto the arena floor, maybe a snack, maybe an offering. Hard to say. A pair of elephants shuffle past, their hides painted with colorful geometric patterns. On their backs, performers juggle torches and wave to the audience. You stare wide-eyed. You've seen oxen, horses, even camels, but elephants, that's new. Flaccus, who somehow found a spot behind you, leans forward and whispers, "I heard they're going to crush a forger under one of those." He sounds far too excited about it. You offer a non-committal grunt and return your attention to the parade. Honestly, you're still trying to wrap your head around the scale of it all. It's not just a show. It's an event. A spectacle meant to awe, distract, and remind everyone that Rome is powerful enough to make anything, everything, perform. The Colosseum itself seems to agree. Built barely 40 years ago, it's still the pride of the empire. Historians still argue whether Vespasian commissioned it purely to erase Nero's legacy or to genuinely provide bread and circuses for the people, but you don't care. You're just glad someone built it. As the final segment of the Pampa marches by, gladiators in training, parading with wooden swords and smug expressions, you hear a few heckles from the crowd. "Hope you brought a will. Don't trip, rookie. My grandmother fights fiercer than you. The young fighters try to ignore it. Some grin, others bristle. You spot one tall figure near the end, broad shoulders, shaved head, eyes locked straight ahead. He's not pretending. He's already in the arena in his mind. You file that face away. You'll probably see it again soon. The music fades, the performers exit, the gates close. Now the Colosseum exhales. This is the pause before the plunge. You hear murmurs ripple around you, bets placed, favorites chosen, lunch plans whispered. Someone nearby complains that the figs were better last year. Someone else wonders aloud if they'll see crocodiles today. You quietly hope not. You've seen what those things can do to a man's legs. Then you spot movement below. Guards in polished armor step forward. One raises a red banner. This is it. The Emperor rises again, not fully, just a theatrical half-stand, and extends his arm. He's not just a politician right now. He's the sun around which this whole day orbits. He makes the gesture. The crowd answers. Trumpets blast. And the next gate opens. The animals come out. At first, it's just the sound. The dry scrape of claws on sand, the low rattle of a chain, and a deep guttural growl that seems to come from under the arena itself. A shadow moves beyond the gate, then another, and then they emerge. Two leopards, their spotted coats shimmering gold in the sun, slink into the arena with unnerving grace. Their heads are low, tails twitching, nostrils flaring at the sudden openness. Behind them, a handler cautiously steps forward with a long prod, but he's keeping his distance. He knows better than to think he's really in control here. The crowd gasps and shifts forward in unison, thousands of people reacting as one living body. You find yourself holding your breath. The condemned man definitely is. He's backing away now, hands raised like that's going to mean anything to a predator that doesn't speak Latin. The leopards pause. They sniff the sand, glance toward the noise of the crowd, then slowly lock eyes on their target. For a moment, nothing moves. Then chaos. One of the leopards darts forward, quick as a whip crack, while the other circles left. The man turns to run, legs flailing, but he's not fast enough. No one is. Not barefoot on sand. Not with fear slowing every decision in your brain. The first leopard lunges, pure muscle, all claw and teeth and terrifying silence, and the man goes down in a tumble of limbs and dust. He screams. It's high and piercing, like a child's cry. You hear bones crack and you think maybe you see blood, but honestly, it's hard to tell through the mess of fur and flailing limbs. The second leopard joins in. The handlers shout, but they don't intervene. They're not here to protect him. They're here to protect the animals. Those beasts are expensive. Somewhere behind you, a woman gasps. A man shouts that one'll eat his face, in a voice that sounds like he's predicting the weather. A few spectators laugh, others wince. One child covers his eyes but peeks through his fingers. You realize your hand is shaking slightly. You hadn't noticed until now. You grip your cup tighter even though. And so do the leopards. One of them still has its jaws locked around the man's leg, tugging slightly, as if unsure whether the meal is finished. The other paces in a tight circle, tail twitching, before flopping down in the sand, panting, bored now that the hunt is done. From above, the audience erupts, some in cheer, some in applause, and others with shouts of disappointment that it ended too quickly. A voice behind you sighs. They don't struggle like they used to. And someone near the front section even tosses a wreath into the arena like it's some kind of tribute. You're not sure if it's for the man or the cat. Honestly, probably the cat. The handlers cautiously return, prodding the leopards back toward the open gate with meat on sticks. It's not elegant, but it works. The cats slink back inside, occasionally glancing back at their handiwork. And the body still there. A crew of slaves hurries out with rakes, shovels, and rough linen cloth. They're dressed in plain brown tunics, faces impassive. You can tell this isn't their first cleanup. One of them mutters something and gets a laugh from the others. Within moments, the body is wrapped, the blood is raked into the sand, and the floor looks eerily pristine again. Just like that, like it never happened. Except it did. You saw it, you felt it. You shift on your bench. That stone is getting harder by the second. This isn't the first time you've seen an execution at the Colosseum, but something about the leopards, about the silence in the way they killed, gets under your skin more than any man with a sword ever has. The opening animal hunts are called venations, and they're just the warm-up. Think of them like opening acts at a concert, except with more teeth and significantly higher mortality rates. They're designed to thrill, to awe, and to put it bluntly, to desensitize. And they're not just about animals killing men. Sometimes it's men killing animals, or animals fighting each other, or elaborate recreations of famous hunts, complete with painted backdrops and fake trees. Historians still argue whether the Colosseum housed all the species claimed in the ancient sources, like tigers, rhinos, even crocodiles. But you've seen enough to believe most of it. You once watched a man in a lion mask get gored by a boar. The irony was not lost on anyone. The next act arrives before you fully recover. A gate opens and out comes a hunter, a bestiarius to be precise. He wears a short leather tunic, a metal helmet with wide cheek guards, and carries a spear almost as long as he is tall. He's muscular but lean and moves with the quiet confidence of someone who's survived this nonsense more than once. The crowd likes him, they know his name. A chant starts up, Lucanus, Lucanus, echoing from tier to tier. Even you find yourself joining in. You're not sure why, maybe it's just the rhythm of it. His opponent today is a bear. Yes, a bear. The gate groans, and out lumbers this hulking mass of fur and fury, snorting and swinging its head from side to side. It's chained to a central post with a long iron tether, giving it just enough room to build momentum. Its coat is patchy, its eyes bloodshot, and you swear it's already angry before anything even starts. The hunter moves in a slow arc, keeping low, spear ready. The bear lunges. The chain jerks it back too short to reach him. The crowd roars. Lucanus waits. Then with one smooth, practiced motion, he darts in, jabs the bear just under the shoulder, and rolls away before it can retaliate. The wound isn't deep, but it's bloody, and the bear screams. A sound like a human wail run through a thundercloud. It charges again, teeth bared, muscles rippling, and again the chain stops it just inches from Lucanus. The crowd is in ecstasy now. It's a strange dance, this duel. There's skill in it, sure, but also cruelty and theater. You begin to wonder how much of it is real danger and how much is choreographed. Did the bear get drugged? Is Lucanus that fast, or is the animal just exhausted? There's no way to know. Historians still argue whether venations were fair contests or manipulated spectacles. Someone once told you at the baths. Standing here now, you're leaning towards spectacle. Lucanus finishes it with a thrust to the throat. The bear crumples like a dropped tent. The arena goes wild. You don't clap. You sit still, watching as the bear twitches once, then goes still. The blood pools fast, too fast. The cleanup team waits a beat, then rushes in. Lucanus bows, raises his arms, and blows a kiss to the crowd. It's hard to tell whether he's showing off or just deeply tired. Probably both. You sip the last of your drink, even though it's gone warm and bitter. The amphitheater smells like iron and dust, and the ghost of whatever incense they tried to use earlier. You hear someone behind you complaining that the next act better include elephants or they're leaving. You wipe a line of sweat from your temple and glance up at the velarium. The Navy sailors are still trying to stretch more shade over the crowd, but it's a slow process, and the sun is climbing. And just when you think it can't get more intense, just when the arena seems like it might pause to breathe, the floor begins to shift. Literally. Hidden trapdoors open silently. Platforms rise. Mechanical lifts clank behind the scenes. The arena has become a machine, a stage with gears and smoke and secrets. It's a marvel of Roman engineering. And now it's preparing for the next act. You tighten your grip on the edge of your seat. Because the gladiators are coming. The floor of the arena groans like some great beast waking from sleep. From beneath the sand, yes, beneath wooden platforms rise slowly, creaking under their own weight. Some carry scenery, mock trees, painted rocks, imitation ruins. Others bear crates, nets, or more ominously, weapon racks. But the crowd doesn't cheer for fake forests or bronze props. They cheer for the men. Gladiators. They come up in pairs or threes from trapdoors cleverly hidden beneath the arena floor. You've passed by these mechanisms once, small wooden hatches and counterweights tucked into dark, damp corridors. But seeing them in motion is something else entirely. The Colosseum is more than a stadium. It's a machine designed for awe. The first gladiators to appear are clearly not new to this. You can tell by the way they move, deliberate, calm, like big cats on parade. One has a trident and a weighted net. A retiarius, you think, light and quick, made to dance and frustrate. Another wears the heavy helmet and curved shield of a secutor, his helmet smooth, with tiny eye slits meant to keep that net from tangling. Their eyes never leave each other. Across the arena, two threses emerge, short swords glinting in the sunlight, curved like a bird's beak. Their armor is ornate, painted greaves, crested helmets, even feathers in one case. It's part battle, part fashion show. Gladiators don't just fight, they perform. And the crowd eats it up. You've seen grown men weep with joy over a good parry. You've heard teenage boys debate footwork like philosophers discuss Plato. It's not just violence. It's a bloody ballet with rules, styles, and traditions. Historians still argue whether gladiators were truly slaves with no choice or closer to modern celebrities, famous, admired, even envied. Your neighbor Flaccus muttered once while drunkenly spilling wine on your tunic. Standing here now, it's hard to say. Some clearly revel in the attention. Others look like they'd rather be anywhere else. One retiarius is so young you swear he might not even have stubble yet. His net droops in his hand. The way he eyes the crowd, nervous, darting, makes your stomach twist. No amount of fame is worth what he's about to face. The trumpet sounds again. Time to fight. The pairings begin methodically, one duel at a time. First, the retiarius and the secutor. They circle each other, slow and measured. The retiarius lashes out with the net, it misses. The secutor charges, shield raised, sword angled low. Sand sprays, the crowd leans in. You do too. The retiarius scrambles back. The net tangles in his own feet. For a second it looks like he's going down immediately, but no. He flips backward, hurls the net again, this time catching the secutor's arm. A cheer goes up. The younger man tries to take advantage, lunges with the trident, but the secutor yanks hard, pulling him off balance. They fall together, tangle, roll. You can't breathe. Then somehow, the retiarius manages to scramble away again, dragging his net behind him like seaweed. The secutor, now bleeding from the calf, stands slowly. They face each other, heaving. Eventually, the secutor gets in a clean hit. Not fatal, not flashy, just effective. The trident clatters to the ground. The retiarius drops to one knee, holding up two fingers, missio, the traditional plea for mercy. Now the drama really begins. The secutor turns to the emperor, raises his sword. The crowd explodes into shouting. Spare him. Finish him. Coward. Let him live. You look around, half the audience is standing. Some are throwing flowers, others throw insults. The emperor doesn't react right away. He watches, waiting, testing the wind. Then he gives the signal. It's subtle, just a tilt of the hand. Thumb sideways. The retiarius is spared. The crowd's reaction is mixed. Some boo, others cheer. One man tosses a handful of coins down into the sand in approval. The injured Ricciarius is helped off by an assistant. He'll live to fight another day. Maybe, depending on infection, or whether someone important changes their mind. It's a strange moment, triumph mixed with humiliation. The man's alive, sure, but he lost. And in Rome, losing has a cost. Another match starts. This time 2 Thraces. They're evenly matched, same height, similar builds, equally fast. Their swords clash with a harsh clang that echoes up the stone walls. Sparks fly. You swear you can smell the metal. The pace is faster now, strikes, counters, dodges, spin. One lashes out with a sudden downward slash that catches the other in the shoulder. Blood. Real blood this time. The wounded Thrax backs away, circles, then lunges with what can only be described as pure, desperate rage. They go down in a cloud of dust. When it clears, one is still. A heartbeat later, the victor stands. He raises both arms, not just in victory, but in claim. The crowd approves. This was a clean fight, well matched, spectacular, no hesitation this time. The emperor gives the downward thumb. It's over. The body is dragged off. The victor is showered with flower petals from the upper rows, some fresh, some slightly wilted. You even see a silk ribbon float down, clearly thrown by someone with expensive taste. And then you hear it. The chanting. Valerius, Valerius, Valerius. The favorite is coming. Every arena has one. The crowd pleaser, the superstar, the man who fights like Mars himself. You've heard of Valerius before. Everyone has. The stories vary. Some say he once beat 5 men in one bout. Others claim he refused freedom 3 times just to keep fighting. Your friend Flaccus insists he once tamed a panther with just a glare. You're not buying that one. And now here he is. He emerges from the gate like he owns it. Tall, scarred, sword already drawn, helmet under his arm. His face is hard to see, but his eyes scan the crowd like he's greeting old friends. The cheers are deafening. He's paired with a newcomer. Poor guy. Big, slow, clearly nervous. His shield arm shakes slightly. Valerius doesn't showboat. He doesn't taunt. He just waits for the trumpet. When it sounds, he moves like lightning. You almost miss it. A blur of silver, a thud, and the other man is flat on his back, shield flung 10 feet away. The crowd gasps. Valerius raises his sword, but pauses. The other man is still breathing, barely. He looks to the emperor. A hush falls. Then a thumbs up. Mercy. Valerius nods, turns, and walks away without another glance. He knows. This isn't his last fight. And the crowd loves him for it. You sit back, exhausted and buzzing. You've watched 4 fights in what feels like 10 minutes. Your heart is pounding like you were in there yourself. And this was just the morning session. You barely have time to catch your breath before the next wave begins, not of fighters but of noise. Murmurs shift through the crowd like wind across a wheat field. A few people rise from their seats to stretch. Others pass wineskins down their rows. There's a lull in the action, and yet no one dares leave, because everyone knows what's coming next. The Venations. Animal hunts. If gladiator combat is the bloody heartbeat of the Colosseum, then Venations are its wild, unpredictable lungs, bizarre, brutal, and unlike anything else. You've seen them before, but every time they begin, your stomach clenches just a little. It starts with a whistle. Then out from a grated gate at the base of the arena wall comes the first animal, a towering bull, muscles rippling under its dusty hide. It snorts, swings its head, and charges an empty spot just to prove it can. The sand trembles under its hooves. Then another gate opens, and another. A wild boar, a pair of sleek black panthers, a hyena slinking low with a half-snarl already in its throat. You're still adjusting to the chaos when the hunters enter, venators, specialists in this brand of madness. They wear little armor, sometimes just tunics or reinforced leather straps. Their weapons vary: spears, nets, bows. Some even carry short whips. Their job isn't just to kill, it's to entertain while doing it. One leaps onto a raised platform and whistles sharply. A panther whirls, eyes locked. The man doesn't flinch. He tosses down a chunk of raw meat. The panther lunges not at him at the bait. The crowd cheers. You exhale. For now, it's a show. But that illusion won't last long. Within moments, blood enters the sand. The boar charges headlong into a spear. It squeals, thrashes, then collapses in a heap. Another venator tangles with a panther, dodging by mere inches, using his net like a cape. A kind of grace forms in the chaos, but only just. A third hunter isn't so lucky. He turns his back, only for a bull to skewer him from behind, tossing his body like a doll. The crowd gasps, then roars. There is no mercy for the foolish, not here. You look away. You weren't ready for that one. Few people are. Historians still argue whether the beasts were starved or drugged beforehand. A guide once told you. Watching them now, it's hard to believe they're anything less than furious. Half mad with fear or rage, it hardly matters which. And then the real spectacle begins. A wooden mock forest is wheeled in tall, leafy trees on crude carts, pulled by sweating slaves. Painted rocks follow, as do imitation ruins. The floor of the Colosseum transforms before your eyes. It becomes a jungle, a desert, a myth. Diana's Grove, someone behind you whispers reverently. You've heard of this setup, a mythical hunt, a recreation of a legend. In this case, the goddess Diana and her sacred stag. A dozen costumed performers, women dressed as nymphs, one man in golden antlers, another painted like the moon, take their places. It's an illusion, yes, but an expensive one. The theater of death. What follows is a choreographed pageant. Nymphs hunt the sacred stag through the painted grove. One by one, they fall to wild beasts unleashed by angry gods. A lion emerges from behind a faux boulder. A crocodile, absurdly out of place, slithers from a trench filled with shallow water. The line between pantomime and panic starts to blur. The audience roars with laughter until a nymph trips for real and is caught by the lion. Then it's not so funny. The lion doesn't kill her instantly. You watch her try to crawl away, arms slick with blood, fingers digging at the sand. Her scream pierces the air. And then an archer from above, a single silent arrow, the lion falls. And the girl stops screaming. You look around. Some spectators are shaken. Others clap as if this were part of the script. It's hard to tell who is horrified and who is just drunk. You think of leaving for a moment, but the gates open again and the elephants arrive. Now that gets everyone's attention. You've never seen one up close. They are enormous, ancient looking. Their hides are cracked like dry earth, their eyes intelligent but sad. Adorned in armor and cloth, they look more like war gods than animals. They were brought from Africa, someone whispers. Months of sea travel, half died before arrival. Now they're paraded here, given painted wooden towers to carry and ridiculous golden helmets. At first the act is peaceful. The elephants lift logs, bow, kneel. One even dances awkwardly to flute music. It's funny until it's not. Because then come the dwarves. Yes, dwarves, sent into the arena to mock foreign kings, riding tiny chariots pulled by goats. The Romans think it hilarious. You're just confused. But it's not over yet. The final act of this twisted play features the elephants going mad. Trainers poke them with hot irons. Loud drums pound. The elephants trumpet, spin, rear. The towers fall. Spectacle becomes chaos. One elephant charges the wall of the arena. People near the front flinch. They've heard rumors elephants escaping, rampaging through Roman streets. It's rare, but not impossible. Eventually, handlers rush in. Nets are thrown. One elephant is stabbed harshly, deeply. It collapses slowly like a crumbling wall. The others are herded back toward their gates, heads low, trumpeting weakly. You sit in stunned silence. No one claps this time. The crowd disperses slowly for the midday intermission. Time to stretch, eat, maybe nap under the colonnade. You remain seated, staring at the sand. What was that? A show, a ritual, a sacrifice, a crime? The answer, of course, is yes. All of the above. Because this is Rome. This is the Colosseum. And the day is only half over. You're still digesting everything. The blood, the pageantry, the elephants, when a cool breeze wafts across your face. It's faint but welcome. The air inside the Colosseum is rarely still. Too many bodies packed into stone seats beneath a Roman sun. You glance up, momentarily grateful for the massive awning overhead. The velarium, stretched tight across the upper rim of the amphitheater like the sail of a ship. Slaves operate it, hundreds of them, working in shifts to adjust the ropes and pulleys. The whole thing is a marvel, really. It doesn't shade everyone, but it gives just enough relief to keep people from keeling over. Well, most of the time. You shift your weight, legs half numb, stomach growling. Around you, the intermission has come alive. Vendors thread through the aisles hawking food, warm bread, grilled meat, cheese wrapped in fig leaves. You take what you can afford, passing coins down the row. Some people eat lavishly, reclining with olives and chilled wine. Others unwrap salted fish or honey cakes brought from home. A few poor souls nibble on nothing, their mouths dry and eyes wide. Not everyone is here by choice. Some are here because a patron offered them a ticket. Others because it was this or prison. You bite into your bread and listen. This is when the gossip spreads. People lean over elbows, whispering about the condemned man from earlier. Did you see his eyes? Someone asks. He wet himself before the lion came out. Another laughs. And then come the opinions. He deserved it, says a stern woman, her lips pursed like she's biting into something bitter. They all do. A man near her shrugs. Not my business, I'm here for the show. Historians still argue whether the Colosseum was a tool of oppression or simply mass entertainment. A modern voice might say, but here, today it's both. And more. A place where blood distracts, where spectacle pacifies. Bread and circuses, just like Juvenal said. But as you eat, something catches your eye. A man a few rows down, cloaked, keeping his head low. He's not watching the crowd or chatting. He's watching the guards. And not casually. There's something off about him. Not threatening exactly, but tense. You nudge the person next to you, but they don't seem to notice. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe he's just a poor man nursing his own secret shame. Maybe he's a thief. Or maybe he's one of the damnati, condemned criminals, who escaped notice. Wouldn't be the first time. After all, people get smuggled into the Colosseum for all sorts of reasons. Lovers hiding from disapproving fathers, political dissidents in disguise, even escaped slaves hopping to vanish into the crowd. A trumpet sounds in the distance. You sit straighter. The second act is about to begin. This is the part you came for. The gladiators. The vendors retreat. The whispering dies down. The crowd reorients like a flock of birds turning in sync. Beneath your feet, the arena floor has been cleared, raked, and smoothed. New sand glistens faintly, as if trying to forget the blood it just drank. And then they march in. You hear them before you see them. The rhythmic clink of armor, the crunch of sandals against sand, the creak of leather straps. A line of fighters enters from the east gate, another from the west. Some wear helmets shaped like fish or birds. Others have bare heads, scars gleaming under the sun. The crowd roars in recognition. Certain fighters have reputations, nicknames, followings. You recognize one of them too, Tigress of Gaul, a towering murmillo known for his brutal efficiency and odd habit of humming before a kill. You'd heard he was injured months ago. Guess not. He lifts his sword toward the emperor's box and bows. Another fighter does the same, Only this one is much smaller, maybe just 18. His armor barely fits. A murmuring wave of sympathy and curiosity ripples through the audience. Fresh meat, someone says. Hope he lasts longer than the last one. You lean forward. This isn't a choreographed battle. It's not a mock hunt. This is real. And you can sense it, something in the stillness of the air, the way the sand crunches under cautious feet. Before the fight, they salute. Ave Imperator Mortuary T Salutant, they shout in unison. Hail Emperor, those who are about to die salute you. It's not mandatory, but it's traditional and chilling. Then the gong. The first pairing is fast and vicious. A secutor, helmeted, shielded versus a nimble retiarius who wields only a net and trident. It's a classic matchup. Strength versus speed, armor versus exposure. They circle, feint, dart. The retiarius lands the first blow, a nick to the leg. The crowd cheers. But it doesn't last. The secutor closes the gap, shrugs off the net and drives his short sword home, just beneath the ribs. The retiarius crumples, not dead, not yet. The secutor stands over him, breathing hard, waiting. The crowd screams missus, pardon, iugula, finish him. All eyes turn toward the emperor. He lifts his hand and gives the signal. Thumb down. The secutor kneels, places his sword carefully, and ends it. You exhale, not realizing you'd been holding your breath. Gladiators rarely fought to the death, you remember hearing. And it's true, for training a fighter was expensive. They were valuable assets, but in the moment, with the crowd screaming for blood, all bets are off. A team of attendants rushes in, dressed as Karen, the ferryman of the underworld, and drags the body out. They smooth the sand again, like he was never there. Then another pair enters. Then another. And another. You lose track. The fights blur together, each one louder, faster, redder. A few end in mercy, most do not. You notice the cloaked man again, still there, still watching. Only now he's gripping something beneath his cloak. You catch a glint of metal, not a weapon, a scroll. Why bring a scroll to the games? A philosopher, a spy. Or a poet, perhaps, trying to capture the ugliest beauty Rome has to offer. You don't have time to wonder, because the crowd surges to its feet and someone yells your name. Not you exactly, but someone with your name, a coincidence. Still, it jolts you back into your body, into the present moment. Because the final fight of the afternoon is starting. And this one's different. Two champions, both undefeated, both famous. One from Thrace, one from Egypt. You recognize their armor, their weapons, their rituals. They circle each other like twin predators. No opening, no mistakes. And you already know, this one won't end quickly. The sun hangs lower now, casting long spears of light across the arena floor. The shadows of the two gladiators stretch beside them, twin giants circling each other slowly, carefully, like lions testing for weakness. The crowd leans in, thousands of eyes fixed on a single heartbeat of tension. You shift in your seat, your limbs stiff from sitting, but your attention locked. Even the children nearby, usually wriggling, whispering, are utterly still. They know this is different. Everyone does. This is not sport, it's ceremony. The Thracian makes the first move, quick, sweeping in from the right with his curved Sika sword aimed low. The Egyptian deflects, his shield flashing as he pivots on his heel, graceful as a dancer. The crowd lets out a collective ooh, not a cheer, just pure admiration. They've seen dozens of fights today, but nothing like this. You remember something you overheard once from a retired gladiator, drunk on vinegar wine at a street stall near the Tiber. The best fights are like music. Rhythm, tempo, surprise. The good ones make the crowd feel like they're inside the blade. You didn't understand it then. Now you do. Because you feel this one, every feint, every clash of steel. It's like you're fighting too, absorbing every blow, flinching with each grunt. Your mouth is dry again, not from heat but from tension. It's almost too much. The Thracian lands a blow to the Egyptian side, a shallow gash, but the crowd erupts anyway. People stand, arms raised. Some scream for blood, others for mercy. But the fight isn't done. The Egyptian rallies, spinning low, sweeping the Thracian's leg. Down he goes. Sand explodes. The Egyptian presses the advantage, pinning him. The daggers in his hand now, poised just over the Thracian's throat. The whole amphitheater falls silent. And then, he hesitates. You see it clearly from your angle. He's waiting, not for the emperor's signal, but for the crowd's. This isn't just about killing. This is about performance. The victor needs your approval. He's playing to the audience. You yell something, instinct more than choice. You're not even sure what, but your voice joins the tide. And then the emperor lifts his arm, pauses. Thumb sideways. Indecision. The crowd roars with conflicting cries. Some want blood, others don't. And the emperor, he seems to enjoy the struggle. He makes a show of weighing the decision, face stoic, head slightly tilted. Finally, he raises his thumb. Mercy. The Egyptian steps back, drops his weapon, offers a hand. The Thracian takes it. The crowd bursts into applause, some in approval, others in protest. But either way, it's done. The two champions raise each other's arms, both victorious, both still breathing. You exhale again, tension bleeding from your shoulders. And then, like magic, the illusion breaks. The sand is raked again, blood is scrubbed. The fighters exit, disappearing behind the same gates they entered through. The moment is gone, but it lingers, humming in your chest like the aftershock of thunder. This, you realize, is the rhythm of the Colosseum. It feeds you extremes, fear and relief, blood and mercy, spectacle and silence. It's not just about death. It's about holding death by the chin, looking into its eyes, and sometimes, just sometimes, letting it go. The crowd begins to stir. Some people are gathering their things, stretching, yawning. But you know better, it's not over, not yet. The real finale is still to come. And sure enough, a great creaking noise echoes from beneath the arena. You look down just in time to see the floor open. Trapdoors slide apart, mechanisms grind, and from the depths of the hypogeum, the underground maze of tunnels and cages, a wooden platform begins to rise. On it, a cage. Inside the cage, something massive. You feel the breath catch in your throat. Even from a distance, the shape is unmistakable. Wide head, thick paws, tawny fur gleaming gold in the waning light. A lion. The crowd gasps. And it's not alone. Another cage rises from a different part of the floor. Then another, and another. Tigers, leopards, bears, some packing, others crouched, snarling. The Colosseum's most infamous act is about to begin, the venatio, the beast hunt. This part is controversial, even in your time. Historians still argue whether the venatio was considered more noble than the gladiator combats, you recall someone saying once, or simply more grotesque. You can see why. There's a strange discomfort settling into your bones. The beast hunts are different. They don't pretend to be fair. Today's spectacle begins with trained hunters, bestiae, entering the arena in light armor, nets and spears in hand. They move carefully, one eye on the animals, the other on their fellow hunters. The cages open. The crowd goes wild. Chaos ensues. You don't know where to look. A leopard leaps, its arc frozen midair for one heart-stopping second before it crashes down. A bestiaria stabs, another dodges. One isn't fast enough, dragged screaming by a bear before attendants intervene, spears jabbing. You swallow hard. Some in the audience love this, others look away. One boy near you is sobbing into his mother's tunic. A man beside you laughs, holding up a goblet of wine. You feel complicated. The venatio continues. More animals enter. Ostriches bolt across the sand, absurdly elegant. A crocodile slithers from a dark tunnel, jaw agape. There's even a bull painted with gold leaf and crowned with laurel. You can't help but be fascinated. And then you see something you hadn't expected. A man unarmed steps into the arena. He's older, gaunt, dressed not as a hunter but a philosopher, bare-chested, barefoot. The animals pause, somehow sensing something is off. The crowd murmurs. He lifts his arms, eyes closed, and begins to speak. You can't hear him from here, but whatever he's saying, it's calm, measured, purposeful. The lions circle him, and then inexplicably they back away. Silence spreads like a ripple. The guards rush in, spears ready, but the philosopher raises a hand. They stop. Even the animals seem entranced. The crowd is breathless. Then, without a sound, he kneels and begins to pray. No one knows what to do. You wonder, was this planned, a stunt, a miracle? Some accounts claim that holy men could tame beasts in the arena, you recall reading. Others insist it was trickery, drugged animals, rehearsed routines. But in this moment, you believe. Eventually, the guards escort him out. The crowd explodes in applause and confusion. It doesn't matter what was real. It worked. He won. And for the first time all day, so did the animals. The show is over. At least for now. The shadows are long now, stretching like fingers across the Colosseum's floor. You feel the cooling of the air as the sun lowers further toward the western horizon. Somewhere behind the structure's high rim, it glows with that deep Roman amber, the color of molten honey and aging bricks. You should be exhausted by now, and in a way you are. Your legs ache from sitting. Your ears ring faintly from hours of cheering and shouting and horn blasts. Yet somehow your senses are sharper than ever. Something has shifted. You're not just watching anymore, you're part of it, absorbing the rhythm, flowing with the day's strange music. And so when the trumpets sound again, sharp and confident, you're already leaning forward, hungry for whatever's next. This isn't just another round of combat. The arena floor, you notice, is being cleared completely. Sand smoothed to a perfect canvas. No props, no cages, no rocks or trees like before, just space. Then from a shadowed gate, a line of figures emerges. You squint. They aren't soldiers. They aren't gladiators. They're people, ordinary looking, some barely more than teenagers. Others older, trembling slightly, bound at the wrists. You swallow. These are condemned criminals. You've heard rumors about this part of the day, stories traded in whispers at bathhouses and taverns. Execution by spectacle, damnatio ad bestias, death not as punishment but as theater. There are 8 of them today. They are marched to the center and forced to kneel in a line. The guards fan out around them, casual, practiced, as though placing garden furniture. You hear laughter from a group of patricians a few rows above you. The woman beside them is fanning herself, bored. The gates open again. Another lion. But this one doesn't run or snarl. It strolls slowly, arrogantly, like it owns the world. Its mane is matted with sweat and blood from earlier. It stops in front of the prisoners and waits. The arena goes quiet again, not for tension, for discomfort. You feel your stomach turn. This is different. There's no skill here, no artistry, just a grim message carved into flesh. This is what happens when you defy the system. Historians still argue whether the executions were truly public deterrents, you remember reading, or whether they were simply social control wrapped in ceremony. You're not sure there's a difference. One of the condemned tries to run. Bad idea. Before he even gets 5 steps, a guard knocks him down with the blunt end of a spear. The lion pounces, and it's quick, horribly quick. The screams are drowned in cheering. People rise to their feet, clapping. You stay seated. There's a numbness behind your eyes now, like staring too long at a fire. You understand why it's happening, but understanding doesn't mean acceptance. And yet, A part of you can't look away. This is still the Colosseum, and the Colosseum doesn't flinch. Eventually, the executions end. The floor is raked clean again. The sand, always the sand, takes it all: blood, sweat, ashes, bones, swallows it like nothing ever happened. The illusion resets. But not everything resets so easily. You lean back in your seat, arms crossed tightly now, not from cold, but from a different kind of chill. And then, as if summoned by the tension, a different kind of act is announced. The mood shifts again, an almost abrupt gear change. It's like the day itself realizes it's gotten too heavy. From the archway comes a parade, musicians with lyres and panpipes, dancers dressed as satyrs and woodland nymphs, actors in exaggerated masks. The crowd loves it. You're confused for a moment. Then it hits you, a mythological reenactment. They do this often, dramatize Roman myths with a mix of theater, choreography, and sometimes very real violence. Think Broadway if Broadway had live tigers and no unions. Today's story, you recognize the costumes. It's the myth of Orpheus. He's played by a lean young man in a wreath of silver leaves. His lyre is ornate, and his movements are hauntingly graceful. He walks across the sand as if it's water, singing in a language half remembered, half invented. The acoustics of the Colosseum carry his voice eerily well. Then, from a concealed door in the ground, rises the underworld. Smoky, black-lacquered panels, swirling mist, red light. Out steps Pluto, god of death, in a horned mask, dragging Eurydice by the wrist. You know the myth, of course. Orpheus must lead her out of the underworld, without looking back. In this version, the stakes are real. Eurydice is played by a condemned woman, and when Orpheus turns too early, too human, she isn't just dragged back into metaphor. She's dragged behind a curtain of flame, her screams very much unscripted. A few people cheer. Some gasp. You sit very, very still. This is Rome. This is entertainment. This is theater, where the ending is always death. You remember a saying, a joke almost, that floated through taverns and forums like wildfire. In the Colosseum, even the stories die. You get it now. The reenactment ends. The musicians exit. Orpheus collapses dramatically. A few actors carry him away. The sand is raked once more. The light is dimming fast now. The long day is reaching its final verse. Some people have already started to leave. But not you. You want to see how it ends. You need to. You glance toward the Emperor's box. He's still there, leaning back on his couch, sipping watered wine, smiling faintly. Around him, senators and poets and lovers murmur behind fans. You wonder what he's thinking. You wonder if he even remembers the names of the people who died today. Probably not. But then again, does anyone? That's the trick of the Colosseum. It doesn't remember, it only performs. The sun is almost gone now, slipping behind the rim of the Colosseum like a coin dropped into a fountain. Only a faint orange aura remains, spilling shadows across the stands. The light plays tricks. It turns the stone crimson, makes the sand look like a softly glowing ember bed. You stretch your legs, shake out your cloak. You're tired, but you can't leave. Not yet. There's still one more act. Even as people shuffle toward the exits, the trumpet blares again, low and slow like the final note of a hymn. You settle back down. This one's not for spectacle, not for blood. This is tradition, ceremony. This is the Pampa, the ceremonial procession that closes the day. It starts with the priests, white-robed, garlanded, swinging censers of incense that send coils of sweet-smelling smoke into the air. You catch the scent, something woody, something spicy. Frankincense, maybe, definitely imported, definitely expensive. They move slowly, deliberately, heads bowed. Behind them come the attendants of the gods, actors dressed as Jupiter, Mars, Minerva, Venus. They're mounted on small platforms carried by slaves, their painted faces illuminated by torchlight now flickering into life around the arena. You blink. The transition from brutal to beautiful is almost jarring. Behind them trail the musicians, flutes and drums, lyres and cymbals, playing a somber melody that echoes against the stone. You feel the rhythm in your chest more than your ears, a heartbeat for the Colosseum. And then from a side entrance comes the real moment of closure, the victors, the surviving gladiators. They walk in formation, chests out, shoulders square, bearing the armor of the defeated. Some still wear drying blood on their tunics. A few look dazed, wounded, perhaps concussed. But they walk proudly, drinking in the cheers of the audience, arms lifted in acknowledgement. They stop in the center of the arena, where a small platform has been erected. A herald reads aloud their names, their victories, the sponsors who paid for them. The crowd responds with polite applause, not frenzied like earlier, but respectful, almost reverent. One of the fighters bows deeply and points his sword toward the emperor's box. The emperor responds with a subtle nod, then lifts a golden laurel wreath and has it passed down. A girl, maybe 10 years old, maybe younger, receives it and brings it to the victorious gladiator. The audience loves it. You do too, honestly. It's absurd, of course, but it's also touching. The way Rome can twist brutality into pageantry. It's a masterclass in image control. You can die here, yes, but if you survive, you might become something. Might. The truth, you suspect, is far grimmer. Even victors often die young. As the procession moves on, your eyes linger on one of the gladiators, a tall man with a bandaged arm and haunted eyes. He doesn't wave, doesn't smile. He just walks straight-backed, looking into the crowd like he's memorizing faces. You wonder if he's thinking about tomorrow, or the next match, or if he even dares. A fringe tidbit floats up from memory, something you heard whispered in a bathhouse once. The bravest gladiators weren't the ones who killed fastest. They were the ones who stayed alive long enough to get bored. As if on cue, one of the children near you yawns. The day has been long, too long for some. You think back to the beginning, the crowd pouring in, the food, the vendors, the excitement, the energy that had filled every corner. It's thinner now, sparser. A few people have even fallen asleep on the benches. But still, no one fully leaves until the final drumbeat. And here it comes. The last performer walks across the arena, a single flutist playing a descending melody, mournful, sweet. It's a signal, a lullaby for violence, a cue that the show is over, the blood is dry, and Rome must return to being, well, Rome. He finishes with a high, trembling note. Silence. And then applause, quiet, measured, but sincere. Not the roar of battle, not the fever of spectacle, but something else. Respect, relief, release. You rise slowly, your body stiff. Around you, the crowd is beginning to move again, peeling away like leaves in a breeze. The exits swell. The stone corridors echo with footsteps and voices, the rustle of cloaks, the clinking of coins and goblets. Someone laughs, someone sings. You pause at the top of the steps for one last look at the arena. The sand is empty again. Almost. One of the attendants is still raking the ground, smoothing it into wide circular patterns like a monk tending a Zen garden. It's oddly peaceful. You watch him a moment longer, then turn to go. Your mind is buzzing. You've just witnessed something ancient, something ritualistic and raw. You've seen death made theatrical, suffering spun into performance, honor bound to brutality. And yet somehow it all worked. It captivated you. You think of what the Colosseum really is, not just a monument or a stadium or a graveyard, but a mirror. It reflects who's in power. It reflects who matters. It reflects who gets remembered and who gets sand raked over their name forever. As you pass under the archway toward the street, a cool breeze brushes your cheek. Night has fallen. The city beyond is alive with oil lamps and dice games and wine-drunken arguments. And still, somewhere behind you, the Colosseum hums, not with sound but with memory. You were here. You saw it. And it saw you. You shuffle down the marble steps of the Colosseum with the rest of the crowd, the sound of sandals scraping stone echoing in waves. The tunnels are cool after the long day in the sun, and they smell of damp stone, sweat, roasted meat, and faint traces of iron. Somewhere deeper inside, a torch sizzles as it hits spilled wine or something darker. The hush that's fallen over the spectators is oddly reverent, like leaving a temple after witnessing a god crack open the world. But once you're out in the open air, Rome rushes back in. The Forum glimmers ahead under a haze of torchlight and rising smoke. You hear street performers piping music in uneven rhythms. Merchants are already calling out to the exiting crowd, offering more food, cheap trinkets, and watered wine to loosen what's left of your coin purse. Some people drift off in groups, others shout and laugh, already reenacting the day's events. You overhear one man yelling, "Did you see the way that lion dragged him?" As if he's talking about a horse race, not a man being ripped apart. You pause just outside the entrance arch, where the grand statues cast elongated shadows across the paving stones. A vendor calls to you, roasted chestnuts this time, but you wave him off. You're not hungry. You're still processing. That's the thing they never tell you about the games. They linger. They're sticky like syrup or ash. Hours later, days even, something will remind you. A sound, a smell, a sudden silence. You glance back once more. The Colosseum looms behind you, bathed now in flickering lamplight and moonshadow. It feels calmer now, sleeping maybe. But that's the illusion. Inside, the crews are already working. Sand needs smoothing, blood needs washing, traps need resetting, bodies need removing. Yes, that's plural. You think again about that quick switch from glory to gore, from cheering to silence. How the audience collectively decided which lives mattered and which didn't. How your own instincts shifted without you even realizing. You'd never thought you could cheer for death. But you did. Not always consciously, not loudly, but somewhere inside you felt that rush, that spark when steel met skin, when a shield splintered, when a gladiator raised their weapon in triumph. It's unsettling and deeply Roman. That's what Rome does. It trains you slowly to celebrate dominance, not just through laws or temples, but through performance, through routine, through spectacle. And the Colosseum is the purest expression of that lesson. You make your way down the hill, past a row of taverns already thick with drink and retellings. Some patrons are making bets for tomorrow's show, whether a certain Ricciarius will survive, whether the elephants are really coming, whether another naval reenactment is even possible after the last disaster. You catch snippets of theories, rumors. I heard the emperor's favorite was actually poisoned before the match, or that wasn't a real leopard, just painted dogs. Historians still argue whether some of the more unbelievable stunts ever really happened. Did they flood the arena for ship battles? Some say yes. Others point out the engineering required and the inconsistencies in ancient accounts. But in a way, the truth doesn't matter. What matters is that people believed it, that they still do. That belief is the beating heart of Roman entertainment. At the next corner, you pass a small shrine, a simple marble alcove with a flickering oil lamp and a carved image of Nemesis, the goddess of retribution. A few coins glint in the offering bowl. Someone left a crust of bread and a sprig of herbs. You bow your head slightly, not out of piety but out of something else. Guilt, fear, respect. Hard to say. The streets start to thin as you approach the poorer quarter where you've rented your room. It's quieter here. Fewer torches, fewer voices, just the creak of a cart axle in the distance and the soft hoot of an owl overhead. You reach your door, lift the latch, and step inside. It's a modest space, bare walls, a straw mattress, a chipped cup on a wooden shelf. But it's yours for now. You sit on the edge of the bed, Unfasten your cloak and let your body sag. You're exhausted, but sleep feels far away. Images keep playing in your head, flashes of movement, of color, of sound. The way the sun hit that sword, the look in the prisoner's eyes before the beasts were released, the silence that followed. You lie back staring at the wooden ceiling. Your heartbeat has slowed, but it's still there, still thudding gently like the final drumbeat of the pampa. Eventually, you'll sleep. And when you do, the arena will likely visit you again. In dreams, in fragments, in odd, distorted memories. Because that's the real magic of the Colosseum. It doesn't end when the games do. It follows you. Like the scent of incense in your clothes, or sand in your sandals, or a voice whispering from the stone, reminding you. You were part of it. You helped make it real. And you'll be back. You're back sooner than you thought. Maybe it's the buzz in the streets. Maybe it's the strange craving for that same smell of sweat and dust. Maybe it's because nothing else in the city comes close to scratching the itch. The Colosseum calls, and like most Romans, you answer without fully understanding why. This morning, though, something's different. You feel it in the way the city pulses as you approach. Even from blocks away, the air seems charged, louder, thicker, expectant. You pass more people than usual, all heading in the same direction. Some wear garlands. Others carry little wooden figures, gladiators with arms outstretched. A few have painted their faces with red lines that mimic dripping blood. It's like a festival and a funeral collided. You follow the current through the archways and find your seat again, almost exactly where you sat before. And even though the sun is in the same position and the breeze feels familiar, the energy is sharper. There's a name on everyone's lips today, Tyro. He's the rising star, a murmillo with a lion's strength and supposedly a philosopher's brain. They say he once quoted Seneca before disarming Aurelius. He who fears death will never do anything worthy of a man who is alive. Very Roman, very marketable. He's scheduled for a duel today, one that's been hyped for weeks. Posters, coins, tavern songs. His opponent, a Thracian named Hector, another crowd favorite but from the east, slighter build, faster, known for brutal finishing moves and an uncanny ability to pop back up after getting knocked down. Everyone's picking sides. You overhear wagers as the crowd packs in. 10 sesterces on Tyro, 50 on Hector. One man claims he saw Hector train and that his footwork alone is worth betting the farm. Another shakes his head. Tyro's got Jupiter's own favor. They arrive to fanfare naturally. Not just the trumpet blast and the rhythmic pounding of drums, but trained birds released into the air, trailing dyed streamers from their feet. Rose petals fall from the upper seats. Even the emperor is present today, reclining under a striped canopy, flanked by fanning servants and glowering guards. When the two men finally step into the arena, the Colosseum stills. You'd think with 50,000 people packed into one stone skeleton, there would be constant noise. But right now, all you hear is the distant caw of a bird and the creak of armor as Tyro raises his sword. They circle each other slowly. Neither lunges first. They know what's at stake, not just survival, but legacy. One mistake and you're the footnote to someone else's saga. You notice Tyro's armor gleams brighter. He's more muscular, yes, but also more relaxed, like he belongs here. Hector's eyes, though, never stop moving, calculating, watching the grip, the stance, the breath. They clash finally. Steel rings like a bell. You flinch instinctively, even though you're well out of reach. The first exchange is quick, a feint, a dodge, a shield slam that forces Hector back. The crowd roars. You realize you're already sweating. It's not just the sun. They separate and circle again. Sand scuffs underfoot. Blood appears, just a streak down Tyro's thigh. It's shallow but symbolic. First strike to the Thracian. But not for long. Tyro drives forward, hammering blows with the weight of a smith's forge. His shield bashes, his sword arcs, and he forces Hector to the edge of the arena. But Hector ducks, rolls, sweeps the leg, and suddenly Tyro is down. The crowd gasps. Even the Emperor leans forward. Tyro scrambles to his feet, just barely blocking a blow meant for his throat. His helmet twists sideways, and you glimpse his face, twisted in rage, blood on his teeth. Then the turn. Somewhere you've read that fights hinge on one instant. One slip, one breath too soon, one blink. This is that moment. Tyro catches Hector mid-lunge and slams him down with a roar. The Thracian's weapon flies. He tries to roll away, but Tyro pins him, foot on his chest, sword at his throat. The whole Colosseum holds its breath. And now, the part that everyone talks about more than the fight itself. Tyro raises his head to the Imperial box. His sword doesn't move. He waits. The crowd surges to its feet. Hands shoot into the air, some open, pleading mercy. Others form tight fists, the sign for death. You scan faces, stunned at the emotion. Some are red-faced and shouting, others weeping, others unmoved. One old man mutters, "Finish him," like he's ordering a loaf of bread. And then the Emperor makes his decision. No grand speech, no dramatic gesture, just a flick of the wrist, downward. Death. Tyro obeys without pause. The strike is clean, professional, almost merciful. Hector's body goes still. The crowd erupts, but you barely hear them. You're staring at the sand again, the stain blooming beneath the broken man. Tyro raises his arms and basks in the praise. You're unsure how to feel. You cheered, you flinched, you wanted to see it, you did see it. And you'll remember it for the rest of your life. Later, historians will debate whether this or that detail was exaggerated, whether the Emperor really ordered the kill, or whether it was Tyro making a show, whether Hector was weakened before the fight, or drugged, or bought. None of that matters here, not to you. What matters is that, in this moment, you were part of something bigger than truth. You were part of Rome's story. And the story continues tomorrow. Morning again. But this time, you're not the one dragging yourself from bed. Today, you're up before sunrise, eager, alert. You've been offered something few spectators ever get: access behind the scenes. No, not the political kind of backstage pass. You're not hobnobbing with senators or sneaking into the Emperor's box. This is grittier. You're meeting the people who make the Colosseum run, not the fighters, not the fans, but the invisible hands that keep the whole operation humming like some terrible, beautiful machine. You arrive at a side gate before the sun's even cleared the rooftops. A gruff man with arms like tree trunks grunts when he sees you, jerks his thumb, and you're in. Just like that. One step beyond the public corridor, and the illusion starts to peel away. Your first stop, the animal pens. And the smell hits first. Damp straw, blood, musk, dung, something sour like rotten fruit or old wine left too long in the sun. The noise comes second, low growls, sudden shrieks, and that dry, heavy huff a big cat makes when it's agitated. You edge around the corner, and there it is. No cage, no bars, just a pit of sorts. Inside, a leopard, sleek, tense. Its yellow eyes track you as you move past. A handler stands nearby, shirtless and scarred, murmuring to the beast like it's a nervous horse. You're told they keep lions, panthers, boars, and even bears down here. One man claims, proudly, that they once had a rhinoceros brought from the edge of the empire. It went mad and gored a camel in half before the crowd even settled. You ask what happened to the rhino. He shrugs. It broke the floor, we poisoned it. Lovely. Further in, the corridors narrow. You descend down a spiral staircase, one of many, and reach the hypogeum, the labyrinthine underground network beneath the arena floor. This place is the Colosseum's secret heart. It's dim, damp, and eerie. Dozens of narrow passages twist and crisscross, barely lit by torches jammed into iron rings on the walls. Slaves scurry back and forth, hauling ropes, oil lamps, and buckets of what you hope is just water. You pass holding rooms for condemned criminals, small cages that look more like coffins. There are winches, pulleys, and massive wooden elevators, platforms designed to lift animals or set pieces directly into the arena above. One man is greasing the gears of a lift so large it could raise a chariot. You watch it creak upward, disappearing into the ceiling. There's a trapdoor up there, your guide says. It'll open at the exact moment they need it. Timing, everything. It's all choreographed, nothing left to chance. You move to the prop rooms next. Think it's all bare sand up there. Think again. There are stacks of fake trees, plaster boulders, painted backdrops that can be unfurled to simulate a forest or a desert or a crumbling ruin. Rome loves a theme. You spot broken columns and old shields, staged swords with retractable tips, though not all are fake, and even a set of ship pieces. Turns out, they once staged a mock naval battle by flooding the floor. Did it work, you ask? Not really, someone replies. The water leaked into the tunnels. We lost a tiger that day. Of course they did. Finally, you reach the quarters of the gladiators. Not the main training barracks, but the temporary cells for those scheduled to fight. It's quieter here. No shouting. Just a low, heavy silence. The kind that hangs over people who don't know if they'll see another sunset. Some sit cross-legged, eyes closed, maybe praying. Others sharpen their blades, polish their helmets. You see two whispering together, then stop when they notice you. There's a mutual understanding in their stare. You're just passing through. They're not. A trainer explains that each fighter has a schedule. When they eat, when they sleep, when they fight. Some are veterans with dozens of bouts under their belt. Others are rookies, fresh from conquest or prison. You ask if the fights are fair. The trainer snorts. What's fair, he says. It's Rome. We give the crowd what they want. You step outside into the sun again, blinking, squinting. You're back at ground level now, standing in a quiet corridor just off the arena's edge. The stands are still empty, the sand still smooth. It looks almost innocent. But now you know better. Now you've seen the machinery, the trapdoors, the pulleys, the cages and the bloodstains and the time delusions. The stories are real, yes, but so is the scaffolding that props them up. The Colosseum is a living creature, fed by hundreds of moving parts and thousands of hands. You wander back toward the exit, quieter now, slower. Behind you, the great amphitheater looms, not just a stage, but a system that works because it hides its workings. And as the sun climbs, and the crowd begins to gather, and the drums begin their low, steady beat, you realize something simple but profound. Every spectacle is a lie dressed in truth. And Rome is the master of the costume. The crowd is already swelling by the time you return, and something feels different in the air. Heavier, sharper. There's a hum of tension, not the usual anticipation of animal acts or flashy executions. This is something bigger. Today's the main event, a championship match. You find your seat again. Same one, same sticky elbow rest, same view of the sand. But now there's a murmuring beneath the cheers. You hear whispers of names passed from mouth to mouth, like prayers or curses. One keeps rising above the rest, Taurus. You squint into the distance and see vendors already hawking wooden figurines carved in his likeness. Broad chest, lion-faced helmet, sword raised mid-swing. Another name follows in his wake, Felix. Younger, faster. The underdog, if anyone in this profession can really be called that. This isn't about punishment or mock battles today. This is spectacle in its purest, most distilled form. Two men, one arena, one victor. And everyone here has chosen a side. You don't know how to pick. Do you go for the favorite, the living legend with 10 wins under his belt and the scars to prove it? Or do you back the rising star with the lean muscles and cocky smirk who seems to believe, truly believe, that he is the one destiny favors? Trumpets blare. The gates open. The crowd surges to its feet as Taurus steps out first, wrapped in bronze and scarlet, his face hidden behind a helm shaped like a snarling boar. He moves slowly, deliberately, like gravity itself has doubled just for him. He raises his sword in salute, and the crowd roars back like a living creature. Then comes Felix. No helmet, just tousled hair and a smile so bright it borders on insolent. He jogs into the arena like he owns it, arms open wide like he's greeting old friends. Some cheer, some boo, everyone watches. You hear someone behind you say, "He won't last a minute." Someone else replies, "You said that yesterday." The referee, a man in white robes holding a long staff, raises his arm. The noise dies down to a murmur. Every eye locks on the sand. He drops the staff. They charge. Taurus is slower, but his swings are devastating. Each one could cleave a man in two. Felix dances around them, light on his feet, ducking and weaving, jabbing when he sees an opening. It's not just a fight, it's a language, a back and forth of footwork, breath, and instinct. Sand sprays with every step. The sun glints off bronze and sweat. You lose track of time. It could be 3 minutes or 30. All you know is your chest hurts from holding your breath. At one point, Felix slips. The crowd gasps. Taurus lunges. You swear he's got him, but Felix twists, rolls, comes up on his feet again, a slash on his arm, but his grin's still intact. Blood trickles. Cheers erupt. Then the tide turns. Felix gets inside Taurus's reach, once, twice, 3 times, each time drawing a red line across the older man's armor. Taurus stumbles, kneels. You feel the shift ripple through the audience, a collective leaning forward. Is this it? Felix stands over him now. His sword is raised. And then he lowers it. Gasps all around, the mercy gesture. But this is Rome. Mercy isn't his to give. He turns to the emperor's box, raises his hands. The emperor, stoic, bored, chewing on dates, glances at the crowd. He raises his thumb, and then tilts it down. You hear people sigh, others shout, but the decision is made. Felix turns. One stroke, clean. Taurus falls back into the sand like a crumbling statue. It's over. Felix doesn't cheer. He doesn't smile. He stands there for a moment, breathing hard, sword low, then he walks away. You exhale. Your heart is racing. You look down and realize you've clenched your hands so tightly your nails left crescents in your skin. The crowd is already moving on. Vendors are shouting. Children are playing. Someone nearby is arguing about how Taurus lost his edge in the last season. It's like it never happened. You stay a while longer, staring at the blood in the sand. A slave team is already out with rakes and buckets, cleaning the arena like it's a giant dining room after a banquet, resetting the stage, getting ready for whatever's next. That's the thing about Rome. No matter how grand the moment, it always resets. The next act waits just off stage. And you just saw 2 men gamble their lives for honor, applause, and a few carved figurines. And for a moment it mattered, and now it doesn't. History's strange that way. Sometimes it clings, sometimes it slips. By now the light has changed. The shadows are longer, the air smells faintly of wine, sweat, and burnt sausage, and the noise of the arena has turned into a rolling, rumbling murmur. But you're still here, still on the same stone bench, watching the Colosseum like it's the center of the universe. And in a way, it is. This final act isn't the bloodiest or the boldest. It's not the grandest battle or the most artful performance, but it is the most Roman. A reenactment. The sand has been cleared once more. You watch the workers smooth it down, sweeping the blood and entrails away like breadcrumbs from a noble's table. Then the set pieces roll in. Painted ships on wheels, fake reeds, boulders made of painted plaster. They're assembling a miniature landscape, and you realize this is a stage now. The crowd is settling in, tired, sunbaked, and wine-warm, but still hungry for one last story. A historical fantasy, a myth come alive. Today's tale is the conquest of Carthage. one of Rome's finest hours, dressed up and dramatized for people who couldn't name a single Punic general but sure know how to cheer when the right side wins. You see actors marching in from one gate, tunics dyed Tyrian purple, brass armor gleaming, false beards stuck onto their chins. They wave short swords and hiss at the crowd. Carthaginians, or at least the Roman version of them, cowards, villains, a little bit ridiculous. From the other gate, the Roman legions, chests out, sandals thudding in synchronized rhythm, standards raised high. They look the part, sure, but you know half of them are slaves. The others, probably failed actors who have never held a real gladius in their lives. Doesn't matter, the illusion is good enough. They clash in a choreographed flurry. Shields clash, spears fly, painted props crash to the sand. A tower topples too early, but it's fine, and the crowd gasps on cue. The Romans advance naturally. The Carthaginians fall back, then flee. There's even a small pyrotechnic display. Nothing too crazy, just a bit of pitch and straw set alight to mimic a city burning. Children cheer. The old man next to you grunts in approval. But here's the twist. Some of the actors aren't actors. When the Carthaginians break formation and scatter, a few are tackled. Some are tied to posts, and the crowd begins chanting. Not names, just one word. Fire. They're not kidding. The torches appear, dipped in pitch, held high, passed around like sacred objects. And then methodically the posts are lit. The fake Carthaginians scream. One tries to twist free, muscles bulging, eyes wide, but it's no good. Another just hangs limp, either fainted or resigned. It's hard to look at, harder to look away. This isn't theater anymore. It's ritual, a public catharsis. The empire feeding its own myths, using real bodies to do it. You don't cheer, but you don't leave either. You wonder if this moment, this exact flicker of flame, this particular scream, will matter to anyone centuries from now, or if it will be swept into the sands of time like everything else. Historians still argue whether these late-day executions were truly about punishment or something deeper, a closing rite, a symbolic cleansing, a way of reminding everyone who's still alive exactly who holds the power and how quickly it can burn. The flames die out, the bodies are removed, and for the last time today the sand is raked smooth. The crowd disperses. Some people are laughing, others look dazed. You pass a vendor selling roasted chestnuts and another offering cheap pendants shaped like tiny Colosseums. A woman is loudly speculating about whether tomorrow's schedule includes crocodiles. You step outside the gates and the world is different. Quieter, dustier. Rome again, not myth, not story, just the city as it always is. But you carry the day with you. You've seen what it meant to be a spectator in the heart of the empire. The sweat, the blood, the shouting, the sun, the theater of power, the celebration of control. And now, as twilight bleeds into night, you realize you were never just watching. You were part of it. And now at last it's quiet. The roar of the crowd has faded. The sand lies undisturbed. No more trumpets, no more jeering laughter, no more flash of metal or streak of blood, just stillness. You're walking slowly now, sandals brushing over worn stone, the evening air cooling against your skin. Somewhere behind you, the last of the vendors are packing up their carts. A stray dog trots past with a bone in its mouth. You hear the distant hum of a fountain, the occasional clatter of hooves on cobblestones. Rome settles in for the night. You think back on everything you witnessed today. The grandeur, yes, but also the strangeness, the cruelty, the absurdity, the relentless noise and spectacle of a civilization desperate to remind itself that it rules the world. It's all behind you now. Breathe in through your nose, hold it for a moment, then let it go. Imagine your feet finding a rhythm with the earth beneath them. Feel the weight of your body soften into the road. Your shoulders loosen, your fingers unclench. And as you turn the corner into a quieter street, lined with shuttered shops and ivy-covered walls, you look up. The sky is deep blue, and the first stars are blinking into view tiny sparks against the velvet dark. The Colosseum fades from your thoughts, not gone, just quieter now. A story, a memory, a dream. You've traveled far tonight, from the top tiers of the arena to the shadowy heart of empire. You've seen too much, perhaps, but you've made it through. And here you are, safe, still, drifting gently back into the comfort of now. Let your breathing slow. Let your eyes grow heavier. Let go. Sweet dreams.